my name is Henrik and I'm a time-lapse photographer. I'm a founding partner of FIRSTLAPSE, a time-lapse production company I own together with Jonas Höjholt. We have been shooting time-lapse all around the world. To shoot time-lapse requires a lot of patience and commitment. Lots of times we have to go to the scene several times to catch the shot. Sometimes when we are traveling, we only have one shot to get it done, so we can only hope for the best conditions. We have partnered up with QNAP and Seagte, who have provided us with a very nice storage device, a NAS server, and huge amount of hard disk space. Now I'm going to take you a little bit back in time to the day when I received the QNAP box. We just received a very nice box from QNAP. Also from QNAP we received two cards, a dual port Thunderbolt 3 card and a dual port 10 gigabit network card. Since the NAS unit itself has already 10 gigabit ports, I'm going to install the network card in our workstation PC. My idea is to link up the NAS unit itself directly with the PC, so we get full bandwidth, full 10 gigabit to transfer between the NAS and the workstation. Okay, let's open it and install everything. Let's install two NVMe drives so we can get some extra boost and performance on the read and write. It's super easy to install the Seagte Ironwolf hard drives in the QNAP drive base, so let's do it. Now I will install the QNAP 10 gigabit network card to ensure there is a full bandwidth to our workstation PC. Now it's time to start up the QNAP NAS for the first time and follow the installation guide. I will just install the QNAP Finder and find the QNAP on the network and follow the wizard, the instructions how to install and set it up. It's pretty easy to set up the basics step by step, so I'm just going to show the speed up version of how I did it. Important to mention is that the QNAP NAS recognizes that I installed the Seagte Ironwolf hard drives. The healthcare management delivers a powerful prevention and security for your hard drives. It provides a recovery analysis of your drives and makes sure that any faulty drives will be alerted to you. On all the Seagte Ironwolf hard drives there is a 3-year recovery service included. So in case your Ironwolf hard drive would fail on you, you can send it in for the recovery service, and according to Seagte, they are able to recover up to 95% of the cases. So I would say you are pretty safe with peace of mind by having Ironwolf drive in your server. And finally, we have the QNAP NAS setup. The Seagte Ironwolf hard drives has been installed in a RAID 5 configuration in the data pool on the QNAP NAS. The reason why we use RAID 5 to configure the drives in the QNAP NAS is because you want optimal performance, but also the best security on our data. Also, I installed 2 NVMe SSD cache drives. That increases the read and write performance dramatically. When we work with time-lapse, we have thousands of files usually from one shoot. For example, when we shoot a sunset scene, usually just from one camera we have between 1000 and 2000 images, raw files, which are like 15 to 20 megabyte per file. So it's a quite huge amount of data we are working with in our software. We need the flow to be very smooth and very efficient, so that's why we enable the cache drives, and we also set up the Seagte Ironwolf drives in a RAID 5 to make sure we have the fastest read and write performance. The QNAP NAS is linked directly with a 10 gigabit network card to the workstation PC. The direct connection between the QNAP NAS and our workstation PC means that we have averaged around 600 to 700 megabyte per second read and write transfer rate, which is really good when we work with 4K video material. One thing we decided to do with the QNAP NAS was to replicate the data from this NAS, which we used before for our workflow. There are several ways how you can copy from, for example, a Synology NAS to a QNAP NAS. The route I was choosing was to set up the Hybrid Mount app on the QNAP NAS. Installing the Hybrid Mount app enabled me to actually mount folders on the QNAP. That means I could access the folders from within the QNAP interface. And I could simply just drag and drop the folders to the QNAP NAS and it would take care of the rest. The NAS would copy for days to transfer all the data over the network, but it went totally smooth and totally fine. Now let's go out and shoot a sunrise so you can see a little bit how we work. Good morning. It's 2:45 a.m. in the morning, packed and ready. To go to Aarhus, where I will attempt to shoot the sunrise. So it's gonna be a really tough one, but yeah, I will give it a shot. The weather forecast looks really good, so I think it's the perfect time to try it now. So yeah, I'm going to Aarhus. And the sun is rising, it's beautiful, absolutely perfect. I'll just give a quick look from the front lens just to see how beautiful it looks like. Back at the studio from the shoot in the morning, I will post-process in LR Time-Lapse, Adobe Lightroom and Adobe After Effects. Those are our go-to programs and are very essential tools in our toolbox of software. Alright, we are back at the studio and I am going to show you how we process a time-lapse. We have all the footage which I was shooting in the morning from the beautiful sunrise. First of all, we are importing all the footage into LR Time-Lapse Pro. LR Time-Lapse Pro is a tool we use as time-lapse photographers to smoothen out our time-lapses to make the best possible quality. So in this case I have to choose how many keyframes I want so I can import those keyframes into Lightroom. And I select that this is a Holy Grail time-lapse and I make some adjustments here and save the settings. Then we are importing the files into Lightroom. So now I have the 3 keyframes and I can start color grading them. Usually we shoot in a way where all the colors and everything is very neutral. so we are going to pop everything a little bit extra to make sure that we get the image just the way we want it. Now it looks much more like how I saw it in the morning when I was shooting it. After color grading it, I'm going to save the metadata, and then I'm going back to LR Timelapse. Back in LR Timelapse, and I'm generating visual previews, and I will do anti-flickering on the whole footage. Now it has finalized generating the previews, and we can actually have a first look at the footage. I will now import all the images into After Effects for the final round. Now we have the images in After Effects. What I have been doing here now is that I have made a little bit extra grading, popping the colors a little bit extra. On the original footage there was so many seagulls flying around in the air, and that looks like small little black spots when you watch the time lapse, and we don't want that. So by creating an extra layer and removing the dark spots from the sky, all the birds are now pretty much gone, and the time lapse looks much more clear. The final step after fine-tuning everything in After Effects is of course to render it and export it out to a video file. I'm going to show you the final result right now. We have been working with the QNAP NAS for a couple of months now, and we can tell that the flow and the speed is really incredible. If I have to say something negative about the QNAP NAS, it is that the noise level is a little bit too loud. But it's not so much because of the fan, because you can adjust the fan speed in the software. It's more because there is a lot of spinning hard drives inside it, and that makes a humming noise when the NAS is running in the background. Ideally, you would place your NAS outside of your working environment, maybe in a server room or somewhere else, because the noise can be a little bit frustrating when you are focused on the sound and the effects and you are editing your videos. I also noticed that my workstation PC started to make a lot of noise. I put so much focus on making our workstation PC extremely low noise. A quiet working environment when you work for hours editing time lapses and editing the time-lapse videos with music and sounds and everything is really important. So we don't really want to listen to a humming PC or noises from fans. When I installed the 10 gigabit network card from QNAP, there is a small tiny fan on the card, and that fan is extremely noisy. It kind of made the workstation PC sound like a server or a small airplane. I strongly recommend QNAP to find a better and more low noise fan for the network cards. Now my partner Jonas will take you to a lovely meadow where he will introduce you a bit to his world of seasonal time lapses. A seasonal time lapse means that you return to the exact same spot at different times of the year, so you can see the transitions between the seasons. And to be able to shoot in the same spot, Jonas have a few tricks up in his sleeve which he will reveal for you here.
So welcome to this vlog. Today I've come out to this meadow area. It's like an open area in my local forest. It's a place with a lot of biodiversity, with a lot of different plants and trees and stuff. So a few months ago I decided to start doing some seasonal time lapses from out here to show this natural meadow area going from early spring and into the summer. Today it's the end of May, so quite close to how it will look in the summer. So today will be my last day of shooting seasonal time lapses from out here before finishing the project. So the first thing I'll do is I'll have to line up my shot from the shot that I did last time I was here about 10 days ago. What I've done is I've saved the photo from last time I was here onto the memory card on the camera. I can just preview that and line up my shot today to have the exact same framing as last time, because I'll have to blend this shot from today onto the shot from last time, which has to be blended onto the shot from the time before that, and so on. I think I've been out here for 5 or 6 times since the beginning of April, I think, and the transformation out here has been quite remarkable, going from just very few colors and then until today with this very lush green color, and everything just has been blooming out. So now I'll have to line up my shot and then grab it. So this I have right here is just I'm previewing the shot from last time I was here, and just using the live view today to try and frame up the shot using the grid lines on the display right here. Carefully lining up my shot. I can see the tree in the middle here has to be right in the center. Just checking that it's level as well. I think it's a bit too low still. It can take quite some time to line it up. It has to be matched as perfectly as you possibly can to make the post-production easier. This looks pretty close. The tree out here matches quite good, so I'm just gonna try and grab a test shot and see. Then you can just cycle between the two. Pretty close. I think it's a little bit too much to the left, so I'll just correct it. Yeah, that's pretty close. I think it's close enough. I'm gonna program in the interval. 2 seconds should do it. 140 shots, that should be enough. Yeah, let's go. Alright, welcome to the post-production part of this seasonal time-lapse project. I'm gonna start with loading my files into LR Timelapse. I just have a folder here with 640 frames from the various points in time that I visited the location. So you can see here it's this first one is from April 15th. We have another one that's from April 30th, and so on, finishing off here with the sequence we did just before. So I will actually just edit the full sequence here through LR Timelapse and hit save, and then I'll have to drag it to Lightroom. Okay, so all the files have been loaded into Lightroom. I've set the filter to LR Timelapse keyframes right here, so I'll just see the frames with the keyframes I set just before. And now I'm gonna edit it with quite a natural look, not too much contrast, not too much saturation and stuff like that, just to get a bit of a flat look for each sequence, and that way it's much more easy to blend them together afterwards. Push the exposure a little bit on this one maybe, and on to the next one. It's really interesting to see the landscape change so dramatically. You don't really see it when you're out there shooting. Looking at the raw files afterwards, it really comes to life. Okay, so now I've applied color grading to all the keyframes right here. So I'm just gonna run through them real quick to see if the exposure is matching. Of course, it's a bit hard because the seasons are changing, and the sun's path is changing, and it's really difficult to get every keyframes to match perfectly in terms of exposure. So you just have to live with this natural change in exposure throughout the season. So, but I think it looks quite well. Running through them real quickly right here, the transformation looks amazing, and I think I'll go with this for now. Once the metadata has been read, I'll export the full sequence into 16-bit TIFFs. and then let it export. So the TIFF sequence has finished exporting. Close down Lightroom and head into After Effects, import TIFF sequence. And create a composition. And now I'd like to split the sequence up into each individual time-lapse sequence. Like this. And then I'll just watch each individual clip and check for flicker and maybe some shakes if some stabilization has to be done or something. I'll just mingle a little bit around with the layers here to get the fade between them as smooth as possible. It looks pretty good. What I'll do now is I'll just take the other sequences right here and put on top. And they're already matched and aligned, so I can just play around with the opacity fade right here. Just trying around, seeing which timing will work until I'm happy with it. Yeah, this looks pretty good, I think. I may have to do a little bit more fiddling around with it, just adjusting a little bit, but with the opacity fades and stuff, but I think it looks I think it's very close to finished.
Setting up a NAS requires some technical knowledge. However, there are really a lot of guidelines on YouTube to find. There are so many features we have not even used yet. We use it as a mass capacity storage device, high speed, where we can edit our material directly on it. I think we are going to use more features in the future on it. One of the features we are going to use is connecting the box directly with HDMI to a TV screen, so we can watch our footage directly. The great thing is that we can easily expand the storage space. Right now we only occupy 4 of the slots for the Seagte Ironwolf hard drives, but we still have 4 slots left, so we can still populate the remaining 4 slots when we run out of storage and want to extend it. Also, we didn't utilize the 4 slots for 2.5-inch drives, and I would create a storage pool on the NAS where we edit directly on the SSDs. With the QNAP in our working environment, it feels so smooth to edit our footage. But also we feel very secure and safe because of our data is very well stored in a RAID system. So if we have any crash or failure, we always know we have a backup. Using the QNAP now gives us even more peace of mind because we always have a duplicate of all of our work, plus we're editing directly on the QNAP. Before the QNAP, we sometimes spent hours to copy a lot of our raw files to our local PC just for the purpose of editing them. But not anymore, because we just connect to the QNAP and we edit directly on it. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care out there.